For years, fans of The Chosen have watched the actors bring the stories of Jesus and his followers to life with so much passion that many began asking a simple but burning question. Do the people playing these biblical roles actually believe in the same faith they are portraying on screen? The answers are not what most viewers expect. Some are deeply rooted in Christianity. Others come from very different religious traditions. And a few describe themselves as spiritual but not tied to any single faith at all. This mix of beliefs has shocked some audiences, but it has also made the performances even more powerful, because each actor brings their own unique perspective. Today, we begin looking at the cast one by one, starting with the man who plays the most important role in the entire series. Jonathan Roumie is the face most viewers immediately connect with The Chosen. He plays Jesus with such sincerity that audiences often say they feel something spiritual just by watching his performance. What many do not know is that Jonathan himself is a devout Catholic. His faith is not just a small detail in his life. It is something that has shaped him from childhood and continues to influence the way he approaches every single scene in the series. Roumie has spoken in several interviews about how his role as Jesus is not just a job but also a responsibility. He feels a deep sense of duty to represent Christ with respect and authenticity. He often prays before filming and takes time to reflect on what the teachings of Jesus mean for him personally. This preparation has made his version of Jesus stand out. It feels gentle and compassionate but also firm and full of conviction. Many fans believe that his personal faith gives him a kind of depth that cannot be faked. But there is another side to this story. Playing Jesus has also tested Roumie in unexpected ways. He has admitted that portraying Christ means constantly looking at his own life and asking if he is living in a way that matches the values of the character he is embodying. It is not easy for any actor to carry that weight, and Roumie has shared that sometimes it feels overwhelming. Still, he believes that God placed him in this role for a reason, and that conviction has given him strength. What is fascinating is that Roumie does not claim to be perfect or holy. He has been honest about his struggles and weaknesses. That honesty has made him relatable to fans who admire his faith, but also see him as a human being. Some viewers who are not Catholic have even said that his portrayal of Jesus inspired them to learn more about Christianity. Others who come from no religious background at all have said they appreciate the humanity he brings to the role. It is rare for an actor to be so openly shaped by faith in today's entertainment world. Yet Jonathan Roumie has found a way to use his beliefs as a foundation rather than something to hide. His story is a reminder that sometimes the power of a performance comes not from acting alone but from a deeper personal conviction that runs through the actor's entire life. If Jonathan Roumie's faith feels like an open book, then Shahar Isaac's story is more like a locked journal. He plays Simon Peter, one of the most fiery and outspoken disciples. Yet in real life, he has kept his personal beliefs mostly in the shadows. Unlike many of his fellow cast members, Shahar does not often speak about religion publicly. This silence has made fans even more curious. Who is the man behind the fisherman who became the rock of the church? Shahar was born in Israel and grew up in a Jewish household. That heritage naturally connects him to the roots of the story in The Chosen. When he steps into the role of Peter, he brings with him a lived experience of Jewish culture, tradition, and identity. For some viewers, this connection adds a sense of authenticity that no amount of acting lessons could create. The rituals, the body language, the rhythm of speech all feel natural when he performs. It is as though his own background is quietly woven into every scene. But Shahar is not someone who uses his platform to preach or to debate faith. Instead, he lets his work speak for itself. This choice has sparked discussion online. Some fans assume he must share the Christian message of the show. Others argue that his Jewish heritage means he probably does not. Yet the truth may be simpler. For Shahar, the role of Simon Peter is not about proving a personal belief system. It is about honoring the character's humanity, his flaws, his doubts, and his transformation. In interviews, Shahar has focused more on the art of storytelling than on his private convictions. He speaks about the challenges of portraying a man who begins as rough and impulsive, but grows into a leader. That journey of change is what excites him most. He has said that Peter is relatable because he makes mistakes again and again, yet still finds redemption. For Shahar, the emotional core of the story is not limited to one religion. It is about the universal human experience of falling down and standing back up. What makes this unique is that while many actors draw strength from their faith, Shahar seems to draw strength from curiosity. He studies the text not as a believer but as an artist searching for meaning. This approach has surprised fans who expected every cast member to be outspoken about spirituality. Instead, Shahar shows that sometimes distance allows clarity. He is not reenacting his own beliefs on screen. He is interpreting a role with the care of a craftsman who respects the story without needing to own it personally. That balance has created a fascinating dynamic. When people watch him storm across the screen as Peter, full of passion and stubbornness, they often forget that the actor himself lives a very different life away from the camera. He is quiet, thoughtful, and private, yet maybe that is the secret. He does not need to talk about his faith for it to have an impact. His presence alone, shaped by his roots and his artistry, is enough to leave an impression that lasts long after the episode ends. When viewers first meet Mary Magdalene in The Chosen, she is broken, lost, and searching for hope. That transformation into a beloved follower of Jesus is one of the most powerful story arcs in the series. What makes it even more striking is how closely the role connects to the real-life journey of the actress who plays her, Elizabeth Tabish. Unlike some of her castmates, Elizabeth does not belong to a single church or religious tradition. Instead, she has described herself as someone who has wrestled with faith, struggled with doubt, and searched for meaning in places both light and dark. Before joining the cast, Elizabeth faced seasons of deep discouragement. She has spoken about how she once felt stuck in her career, overlooked, and unsure of her path. Acting had always been her dream, but at times that dream seemed far away. This sense of uncertainty spilled over into her spiritual life. She has admitted that she went through phases where she questioned everything: God, faith, and even her own worth. For someone preparing to play Mary Magdalene, a character defined by redemption, those personal struggles became a powerful tool. When Elizabeth steps into Mary's sandals, she does not have to imagine what it feels like to be broken. She has lived her own moments of doubt and despair, and just as Mary finds freedom and purpose through her encounter with Jesus, Elizabeth has found renewed purpose through this role. She has said in interviews that The Chosen was like an unexpected gift, a turning point that gave her not only a career breakthrough but also a reminder that life can change in an instant. What is fascinating is how Elizabeth approaches the idea of faith. She does not use labels or rigid definitions. Instead, she speaks about spirituality in terms of experience, emotion, and connection. She has said that she finds beauty and mystery and comfort in the idea that brokenness can be healed. That openness resonates with many fans who do not belong to a church themselves, but still feel touched by the show's message. To them, Elizabeth is proof that you do not need to have all the answers to connect with a story of hope. Her portrayal of Mary Magdalene has been praised for its raw honesty. When Mary cries, it does not look like acting. It feels like the release of years of pain. When she smiles, it carries the weight of someone who has known darkness and finally seen light. That depth comes not from memorizing Bible verses, but from Elizabeth's willingness to bring her own scars into the performance. In that way, her real story and her character's story are inseparable. Elizabeth Tabish reminds us that faith does not always follow straight lines. Sometimes it is messy, uncertain, and full of questions. Yet those questions can create art that feels more alive than answers ever could. Through her work, she shows that doubt and belief can exist side by side, and that both can inspire something unforgettable. Among all the disciples in The Chosen, Matthew often feels like the outsider. He is awkward, analytical, and constantly misunderstood by those around him. Yet over time, he becomes one of the most important voices in telling the story of Jesus. That sense of standing apart is not only true for Matthew the character, but also for the actor who plays him. Patel was born into a Hindu family, a faith tradition very different from Christianity. Growing up, His exposure to the Bible was limited, and the teachings of Jesus were not central to his upbringing. This made his casting as Matthew both surprising and deeply symbolic. Here was a man shaped by one of the world's oldest religions, stepping into the shoes of a disciple who would eventually record one of the four Gospels. The contrast could not be sharper, yet that very difference has allowed Paris to bring something unique to the role. For Paris, playing Matthew is not about confirming or denying a belief system. It is about entering into the mindset of someone who sees the world differently. He has spoken about how Matthew's personality, precise, methodical, almost obsessive, reminded him of people he has known in real life. By leaning into those traits, Paris found a way to create a version of Matthew that feels authentic and relatable even to modern audiences. His careful movements, measured speech, and subtle facial expressions all paint the picture of a man who processes life in his own distinct rhythm. What makes Paris's journey even more compelling is how audiences have responded. Many fans of The Chosen come from deeply Christian backgrounds, yet one of the performances they praise most is from an actor who does not share their faith. This has sparked conversations about the power of art to cross boundaries. It shows that storytelling can bridge gaps between cultures and beliefs, bringing people together who might otherwise remain worlds apart. Paris himself has said that the show has opened his eyes to new perspectives. While he does not claim Christianity as his own faith, he has acknowledged the beauty of the story he is helping to tell. In interviews, he has reflected on how the themes of love, forgiveness, and transformation are universal values that can resonate with anyone regardless of religion. This openness has made him a quiet ambassador for interfaith understanding, even if that was never his intention. What is most striking about Paris Patel's role in The Chosen is how it mirrors real life. Just as Matthew the tax collector was once considered an outsider among his peers, Paris comes to this story from outside the Christian tradition. Yet both have found acceptance and purpose within it. His presence is a reminder that faith stories can belong to everyone, not just those who already believe. In that sense, Paris embodies the very heart of what The Chosen tries to do: invite all people, no matter their background, into a story that has the power to transform. When the series first gained popularity, many viewers assumed something that felt obvious to them. Surely the actors who bring these sacred stories to life must all be devout Christians, united by the same beliefs as the characters they play. It seemed like a safe assumption. After all, how could someone portray Jesus or his disciples without already believing in the message? But as details about the cast began to surface, fans quickly learned that the truth was far more complex. The reactions to this discovery have been mixed and fascinating. On social media, some fans expressed surprise that Jonathan Roumie is Catholic rather than Protestant, especially since much of the show's fanbase comes from evangelical backgrounds. Others were intrigued that Shahar Isaac's Jewish heritage connects him to the historical roots of the story, even though he is not Christian himself. Paris Patel's Hindu background sparked even more conversation, with some people praising the diversity while others struggled to understand how someone from a different faith could embody one of the gospel writers. These differences have not only stirred curiosity but also revealed how strongly audiences tie identity to performance. Some fans feel that an actor's personal faith should match the role they play. To them, authenticity is connected to belief. Others argue that great acting is about imagination and empathy, not about personal conviction. This debate has created a kind of tension in the fan community, with discussions ranging from respectful curiosity to heated arguments. But what many fans overlook is the way these differences actually enrich the show. The blend of backgrounds means that each actor approaches their role with a fresh perspective. Elizabeth Tabish, for example, brings her own battles with doubt into her portrayal of Mary Magdalene, which resonates deeply with viewers who also struggle with faith. Shahar's connection to Jewish culture grounds the story in history, while Paris's outsider lens makes Matthew's journey feel even more authentic. Instead of weakening the message, their diversity strengthens it by making the characters more layered and relatable. One of the biggest misconceptions is that faith is a requirement for truth in storytelling. The reality is that art has always thrived when people from different walks of life bring their voices together. The cast of The Chosen is proof of this. Their variety does not dilute the message but amplifies it, showing that a story rooted in the first century can still speak powerfully to a global audience today. For fans, this has been both surprising and challenging. Some embrace it as a sign that God can use anyone, believer or not, to tell his story. Others wrestle with the idea, unsure how to reconcile their expectations with the reality behind the scenes. But either way, it has kept the conversation alive. People are not just watching The Chosen. They are talking about it, debating it, and asking questions they might not have asked otherwise. And maybe that is the hidden gift. By learning that the cast does not all share the same beliefs, fans are invited to confront their own assumptions. They see that truth can emerge in unexpected places, and that sometimes the most powerful stories are told by those who stand outside the circle looking in. On screen, the disciples argue, cry, celebrate, and grow together. But behind the camera, what gives those moments their weight is not only the script, it is the inner world each actor brings with them. For Jonathan Roumie, his Catholic faith is a compass. Before filming scenes where Jesus heals the broken or forgives a sinner, he often prays quietly, centering himself so that the performance flows out of conviction rather than simple technique. His belief becomes the invisible thread that pulls his eyes, his gestures, even the pauses in his voice, into something that feels sacred. For Shahar, the dynamic is different. His Jewish upbringing gives him an instinctive sense of history and culture. He may not declare Christian faith, but when he argues with Roumie's Jesus as Simon Peter, there is an authenticity that comes from centuries of inherited tradition. It is not memorized. It is lived, carried in posture and tone. In this way, Shahar's roots give Peter's character an earthy realism, grounding the spiritual story in the grit of human struggle. Tabish brings something else entirely. Her personal battles with doubt, depression, and uncertainty bleed into her portrayal of Mary Magdalene. When she collapses in tears or stares into the distance searching for hope, it is not performance alone, it is memory. Her struggles give her the courage to expose vulnerability on screen in a way that feels raw and unfiltered. For many fans, those moments become mirrors of their own private pain, making her one of the most relatable figures in the series. Then there is Patel. Unlike many cast members, he does not share a Christian background, yet this outsider's view fuels his craft. Playing Matthew, he approaches the story like a puzzle. He breaks down the details, studies the text, and dissects the emotions of someone misunderstood by his peers. His Hindu heritage does not conflict with his performance. It sharpens it. It allows him to step into Matthew's shoes with curiosity, asking, "How would someone who thinks differently learn to belong?" That curiosity transforms into a performance that feels fresh and deeply human. What becomes clear is that faith, or even the absence of faith, acts as fuel for authenticity. Some actors channel devotion, others channel questions, but both roads lead to performances that resonate with viewers across belief systems. This is why fans often describe The Chosen as feeling real. It is not because the cast all believe the same thing. It is because they draw from their own lives, their convictions, their doubts, and their scars to create something larger than themselves. In many ways, this mix reflects the heart of the original story. The disciples themselves were not identical in background or temperament. They argued, doubted, and wrestled with belief. Yet together they carried the message that would change the world. The cast of The Chosen mirrors that same diversity. Their faith journeys may not align perfectly, but the tension between them creates a richer and more layered story. One that reaches beyond the screen and into the hearts of the audience. At the end of the day, the question that has followed The Chosen since the very beginning is simple. Do the actors who bring these sacred figures to life actually believe in what they are portraying? And now we know the answer is not one size fits all. Some, like Jonathan Roumie, walk with a faith that is as much a part of their daily lives as the air they breathe. Others, like Shahar and Patel, step into these roles from outside the Christian tradition, carrying their own cultural and spiritual backgrounds into the story. Then there are those like Elizabeth Tabish, who bring the rawness of struggle and doubt, reminding us that faith is rarely a straight line. What unites them is not a shared religion, but a shared commitment to telling the story with honesty and heart. Their differences, rather than weakening the series, are what make it resonate so widely. Each perspective adds another layer, another texture, another dimension. Together they form a mosaic, much like the original disciples did. Men and women with different backgrounds, different flaws, and different levels of faith, yet all drawn into a story that changed history.